the Eagles trading with Washington. They love these intra-division deals now. They trade with Washington to acquire third-year wide receiver Jahan Dotson, who was a first-round pick 2 years ago out of Penn State. And in the process, the Eagles also acquire, I want to say, a fifth-round pick, and they give up a third-round pick and two seventh-round picks. So the big part of that, Adam, is that the Eagles address one of the most glaring needs that we talked about on the podcast that dropped today, and that's they really needed a number three wide receiver, not just someone who can play the slot, but really more so someone who can move outside if there's an injury to A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith, and Dotson would be that guy.
Yeah, boy, did he get off to a great start as a rookie, and then he had a hamstring problem he just couldn't shake. And his role kind of regressed last season. He actually played in all 17 games, but his role certainly came down despite how much they were throwing. He just didn't get the ball enough. And people are wondering, why is he not doing better? That was surprising now, but we're going to give you the answers in a couple of minutes here. But it does address by far the biggest problem. I don't think it's even, I mean, we could say all we want about inside backer. At least they have players who've done, at least been on the field before, somewhat, and then some other guys are younger. But they also vested some draft picks. Whereas with the Eagles, the backup receivers, you got Paris Campbell, who signed off the street, who was really not impressed. Covey was an undrafted free agent, who's one of the best punt returners in the NFL, has had a great training camp, but he's really only an inside player. Nia Smith is really only an inside player. As of now, John Ross, unfortunately, has got a concussion. Wilson's got a concussion. Joe Ngata had another good training camp, but we know about the separation issues. Jacob Harris has flashed a little bit. Watkins hasn't gotten to the plate. So the Eagles have told you they don't think they're good enough, which we all knew, and they addressed it in a fairly significant way.
So here's what I find really interesting about this move. I mean, for all the obvious reasons, it makes sense. Now you've got your six wide receivers. You have Smith, you have Brown, you have Jahan Dotson, Johnny Wilson, Ania Smith, and Britton Covey. I mean, this obviously probably puts Paris Campbell now. You hope to get him back on the practice squad. Same thing with John Ross. I mean, I don't think those guys are going to make the team now. I think those are your six wide receivers, and you have a little bit more depth. But I think what I find really interesting, and time will tell on this, Adam, is that the Eagles continue to put draft resources into upgrading the offense when they also have similar, if not more dire needs at inside linebacker and safety. And if you look at when they get to the trade deadline, if linebacker is an area that's hurting them and they need to upgrade, or same thing with safety, they don't have a third round pick now to do that with. And that's usually a pick, a third or a fourth that they've used in the past to get a guy like a Jay Ajayi or a Golden Tate or whatever. So they continue to upgrade the stronger part of their team. And again, like we said on the pod, it's not really a financial thing. He's only going to make $1.6 million. They're not putting financial resources into receiver, but they are using draft resources into an area where they already have two superstars. And it makes me wonder, what can they do now if they really need to help their defense?
Well, first of all, let me address the first thing. They could not go into the season with what they have at backup receiver. It's embarrassing. I'm going to call it like it is. It was terrible.
100%.
Being in practice, I shake my head. I'm like, they can't be serious. Any reporter went to practice knows it was terrible. Johnny Wilson can't separate. He's big. We know he can block. If you could get him open, he certainly could run for his size, but he's really at best a 4. Okay. And I'm being kind.
Mm-hmm.
I know enough about Johnny Wilson's background and know that he needs coaching. There's a lot there off the field, which we outlined after he was drafted from 3 sources. Okay. But he's done some good things in training camp. He just needs to do what he's asked to do and just be coached. And he's been coached and he's done a nice job, but he's a 4 at best.
Mm-hmm.
Campbell, you just mentioned Campbell, right? But here's the thing with Paris Campbell. The guarantee on his contract, it's not a lot. He's going to make $1.3 million, 417,500. It's fully guaranteed. It's a very cuttable contract, but Campbell could play inside or outside. So could Dotson. So, if they cut him, as you're talking about, well, then Dotson's your 3. Covey's only really an inside player. We know they've cross-trained him, but he's so small. Wilson has been cross-trained as more of a perimeter blocker, some slot, some move, some X, but he's still limited. He's still learning. As you said, he has a concussion. Naismith, I did see him play a little of the Z, but he's more of a slot. So here's my question. You really want to cut Paris Campbell? Well,